Hey friends, welcome back to the Aligned Life-Stylist. I'm Corey, and today I have an amazing guest that I just met. Her name is Helen Party, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. But first off, I just want to welcome you back, tell you thank you for listening, and hopefully, if you have anything that this you really learned something from this today, please reach out. Please reach out to myself, to Helen, any of the guests that we've had. We're here to really help you. That is my purpose and my platform is to just bring to you these amazing healers, people who have stories that are very similar to yours, to really help you understand that there is hope and there's help, whether it's your physical, your emotional, your spiritual health. And I love that I get to talk with women who have so much in common with what I believe in, as far as our powerful internal being as women and what we're actually here to bring forward, especially right now. Like we need women. We need feminine. We need the feminine back in the world. And so, Helen, welcome. Thank you for being
Yeah,
here.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm excited to chat to you. You have a really awesome story, and I think it's going to be fun to just dive into what you do because you and I have very similar, we do some similar things, but in very different ways. So it's going to be fun to have a little chat. Let me tell you a little bit about Helen, though. She is a nervous system health coach, licensed massage therapist, and functional nutrigenomics. Did I say that
Genomics.
right?
Genomics, yeah.
Nutrigenomics practitioner and the founder of Whole Body and Soul Wellness Center in Utah. She specializes in helping people restore health by addressing the root cause of stress, inflammation, hormone imbalance, and chronic symptoms through the nervous system regulation, body work, biofeedback, and functional genomics. Helen blends ancient healing modalities with modern neuroscience and genetic insights to help clients move from survival mode into sustainable whole body healing. I love it. That you know what stood out as survival mode. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, everyone's in survival mode. So welcome. I'm excited to share a little bit about what you do and your story that got you into this. So tell us in your words kind of a little bit about yourself and you in general. Tell us about you.
Yeah, I always say that I feel like I had this contract with my body that it would keep me on course and my purpose here on this planet. And we're not always awake to that. And we can call them whatever, purpose, alignment, whatever that is, and whatever that looks like for you. But my body very much was done dealing with my off-track horse and really put its foot down. And about 27, 28, I started to lose my health rapidly. And to a point that you can no longer ignore,
Mm.
the symptoms are so debilitating that, you're really looking at what do I need to give up so that I can just live? And you start to give things up, that everything becomes energy inclusive, and energy becomes, your personal energy becomes this incredible, most valuable resource that you have, and you have to start siphoning it for yourself, for just
Mm,
survival.
hmm.
You
Right.
have to start, questioning, can I do that thing? And I was what they call a very ambitious, type A, always going. I can't say that at this point I understand that personality type a lot better and what drives it. There's so many factors. When you get into the genetics, there's a side there where I don't convert glutamate into GABA correctly.
Mm.
When you get into upbringing and nurturing, there's a side there where I was very much taught if I was helping and being supportive. We came from a big family. My mom had 9 kids,
Wow.
and I was the middle.
Mm.
So, you were taught you had a certain role. And if you were good, if you were a good kid, you did your jobs and you showed up and you did your stuff and you were worthy of, I don't know, as a kid, you think it's love, but
Mm.
now I know that's just approval and
Yep.
safety. We want that as kids.
Acceptance. Yeah,
Acceptance.
you just want to be accepted into your family.
Yeah, so a lot of evolution later, I look back at that version of me. I'm 42 now, and the things that drove my body to have this extreme, from the outside looking in, it looked like I was dying. I was losing my ability to really move, to walk, just extreme muscle weakness, digestive issues, a lot of neurological things started happening, which led doctors to kind of give me this blanket diagnosis of you have multiple sclerosis, or we think you have
Mm,
multiple sclerosis. Um, it was very hard too because there seemed to be flares and remission, which is so common in the chronic illness world. And
hmm.
age certainly, the older we get, the more of those flares seem to show up. And for women, those can be very cyclic. So by the time I would go in to see a specialist or see a doctor, sometimes I would look like I was in remission. And I'm like, I'm not okay, but my blood work was normal. And, you don't
Ugh.
have cancer and you don't have diabetes and you don't have, you don't have. So you start going through the referral system. And at that point, neurology was one of the first places they sent me. And yeah, I was told you need to get better health insurance because it's going to be very expensive going forward, but there's basically nothing we can do.
Wow. What a weird, what a bizarre answer. Here you're gonna spend a lot of money, but we're not really gonna help you, is basically what they said.
Yeah, yeah,
Which is actually really what happens, unfortunately,
yeah.
right?
Oh, so much. I mean, that's really where I started to become an advocate for myself. Even though you lose, you're surrounded by Um, a family, I feel like, is the worst for understanding chronic illness. They really are. You
Hmm.
have to really get with people who are going through something similar. And when the illness looks invisible and it looks like, oh, you can't move, you're weak, you're tired, right? What is that? Just push through.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
there's so much toxic, I call that the David Goggins toxicity.
Hmm. Just do it all.
Yeah,
Go,
just
go,
go through
go.
it. Don't listen to the intuitive side that's trying to wake you up and tell you, you're doing too much. You need to slow down. You're not on the right path. At that point, I had a thriving custom sewing business that I had started from nothing. I was homeschooling my little kids. I had a 5 and a 7-year-old at the time, and I was teaching piano. I had been teaching piano since I was 16. So that's recitals and just I was going all the time.
Yeah.
And until my body was like, no,
Hmm.
we're done. And it was such a, something I couldn't argue with at that point that it was just, I gave up everything. I gave up my businesses. I gave up teaching. I was lucky just to get up and brush my teeth. There
Mm.
were weeks I did not go outside because I couldn't go down the stairs. So I was very, very sick for a very long time. And I did go through what, I've heard, I only had heard about really the dark night of the soul, but I walked one.
Hmm.
I walked one in the
Hmm.
first year of that. And it came to redefine my relationship with what is love, what is God, what is what is this divine that we have access to? What is my body able to do if I was able to access healing?
Hmm.
And what is healing? Is it physical? Is it emotional? I was very much raised in a deeply religious environment where chronic illness was shamed.
Really?
Oh yeah, if you were not healed, through prayer or through some type of ceremony, you were not worthy. So
So it was like a punishment. You were doing something wrong. This is why you didn't get
I must
better.
have been because I wasn't getting better.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, there was that conflict of belief systems around me even being worthy of being supported or asking for support. And to be that disabled and be in an environment like that, it was a catalyst to really help me tune into what am I capable of and why am I here?
Mm.
What is my purpose? So some really defining moments where, whatever I was doing that was using my energy up to that point became completely irrelevant. And I just
Mhm.
had to start to not only study, but start to turn inward. There's something we call an ego death. And I also went through one of those where I no longer associated with the version of me that could do the things. I used to, you know, skip steps and, run down to the basement and grab something fast. Those days were over. I used to be able
Mhm.
to stay up and sew a costume for my kids for, a deadline. Those days were gone. I was
Yeah.
now just trying to just prepare simple meals, which I had to have a lot of help for.
Mm,
I was no longer able to go grocery shopping. Like, I can sit there and talk about like that it was gradual, but it wasn't. It was suddenly. And I had
hmm.
some good days and some mostly bad days. And it looked like for a long time it was just getting worse.
Ah,
So
scary.
it
Well, and
was.
it does such a number on your mental health because I've been there, not to the extreme that I couldn't walk, but it does such a number on your mental health to where you become so hopeless. And I think this is why I love sharing stories like this and having guests that share stories because I think a lot of people in this position don't understand that they're not alone. Especially like in your situation, like you said, it was so ostracized that why aren't you what's wrong with you that you're not getting better? And we're weak now because we can't perform the way we've always been conditioned to perform. So then you start it does a number on not only your mental health, but your value, your self-worth.
Oh goodness, your value. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would hit that right now, the value. That sense of I am just worthy of existing. Like we kind of monetize that internally. We don't know that we do that, but it's based on what we can do, how we can perform. So when you
Mm-hmm.
literally lose your ability to perform, to provide, even as a mom, I wasn't able to take care of my own kids and their needs. I wasn't able to take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never been the kind of person that was good. And I think this is pretty universal as women. We're
Mm-hmm.
taught to, we're labeled as great multitaskers, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fact is, we are good. Let's be fair. We are good at going
Yeah.
into a space and into a room and, rearranging things in a way with emotions and pulling people down and lifting people up and meal planning and just we are better at that. We just are. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Just
not
built
gonna
in.
I'm not gonna
It's just
argue
built
about
in.
it. I just
You're
it's
like, we
something
are. We just are, and that's all there is to
it's just facts. And I don't know. I feel like
it.
some of it's a positive and some of it we tend to just, culturally step into. But yeah,
Well, it's a
getting to the
constant proving yourself. Like this constant, I need to prove my worth. I need to prove my worth. And in my religion, it was always, well, if you're not happy or something's not right in your life, you're not doing enough. You're not doing something correct. You need to read the scriptures more. You're not taking care of your family. And it's such a burden for women. Like such a burden. Yeah.
so yeah, that went on for a while. I remember feeling, like you said, very hopeless, very much like I was alone. I did not have any kind of support group. No one that I had ever interacted with or known of had experienced anything like what I was going through. I don't come from, my mother was very
Mm.
resilient, 9 kids. I think she had 5 miscarriages. This woman she's
Wow.
strong. And yeah, it was really out of nowhere for me. When I look back, it was not out of nowhere. When I look back, I had
Yeah.
symptoms as a teenager. Um, I have learned more about, not only the cause factors, root causes, we dwell so much on what are the roots, but it is so multifactorial at this point. I was very fortunate to have some people come into my life over the last 2 years that helped mentor me in functional genetics or nutrigenomics is what I list them as. And we take a buccal swab test and we send this into a lab and we're able to get results over 90,000 functional genes that these are showing how you metabolize iron, how you utilize nutrients, where your detox pathways are backed up, where you need more support. Like this was like the manual we're not born with as to why
Yeah.
our bodies interact with life the way that we do. Why I've been so sensitive to, I call them the Tide family. And you're in the grocery
Mm-hmm.
store where, standing in an aisle or just, waiting to board your flight. And it is just so overpowering for me. Like I can smell it. It gives me an instant headache. It makes me
Yeah.
tired, makes my heart race. Why am I like this? I'm not trying to be rude to you. You should be able to wash your clothes or
Right.
whatever cologne you want. But like I literally have zero tolerance.
Yep.
So when you get into the genetic side of that, I literally have chemical sensitivities based on the SNPs in my profile that I don't clear those toxins. They actually
Mm-hmm.
cycle through my body and they create a lot of inflammation and cytokines and nervous system dysregulation. So it's really important. It's not in my head. I'm not crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah, it's all just in your head.
Well, you're so sensitive, right? You're so
I
sensitive.
have multiple chemical sensitivity, so I hear that loud and clear. And if I'm healthy, I can handle it. But I always know when something's awry inside my body now because it affects me drastically. Like the other day, I sprayed something just because I was like, I gotta just spray this, and it was the first thing handy. And I was like, oh, why did I do that? Right? Because most of the stuff I use is clean.
Yeah.
But you brought up something about like your nervous system and I don't think we realize, well, we know that, I mean, it's old news that that all these scents are endocrine disruptors, right? But what I don't think people understand is that maybe you're not aware that it's affecting your body, but it is. And so all these things you're experiencing, even I would say like tension and being uptight because your body's like reacting, right? And so many
Anxiety.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're all sensitive to it because it's unhealthy, right? It's just
Yeah.
at what point does your body, like in your story, the glass just got too full and it was like
Hmm.
it's overflowing. Yeah. So that particular modality that you use, where is it European? Is it inter European, the genome?
The genomics? No, it's
Mm-hmm.
USA based.
Oh,
It
okay.
comes from a functional or traditional naturopathic practitioner. His name is Bob Miller, and he created software that's very specific for looking at these functional genetic pathways. We have
Mm-hmm.
a little pyramid that we start at the baseline and work through, glutathione production, NOS uncoupling. Then we move into the detox pathways. Then we move up into methylation. And it's so interesting to me because that's such a kind of a trigger word. MTHFR is kind of like a gateway gene for a lot of people. It's the only gene they know about. But they're
Mm-hmm.
like, I think I have it, and I think it's the culprit of all my problems. And for us, when we're looking through it, there's so many baseline factors to look at before we even consider most people, actually 90%, if you're Caucasian, you most likely have the variant. And there's multiple variants, but that's not really the problem. The problem is these genes can turn on and off to make it really, really simple. So when they were doing the Human Genome Project, the world came together, great minds. It was years it took them to sequence the genome, and they were like, "Oh, this is going to solve our problems. We're going to know how to cure all disease." Then the caveat came that these genes have little doors and little enzymes and little proteins, and stress drives them. So,
Mm-hmm.
what we don't heal emotionally, the tension we store in our systems and our tissues. I've been talking a little bit lately on my social media how I feel like the universe has been throwing me my niche because I'm getting 90% of the clients that I meet with connective tissue disorders.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a spectrum, and there's different causes. But a lot of these people with hypermobility or even a lot of stiffness, they've been super stiff their whole life. They've never understood why. And that's more where I am, is the super stiff. But you really need to be aware that that stress is driving these muscles to be tight, but there's a genetic factor. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just emotions. I'm all about taking accountability. And the more we do, the more empowered we are for our healing journey. But it's a whole piece. We have to
Mm-hmm.
address, you know, that's why I love massage and body work because you don't have to get into the story. Some people do,
Yeah.
but for the most part, they can just rest, become aware and conscious of that tension, of that story in the body. I always say that massage time, whether it's an hour, 90 minutes, whatever it is, it's a time for you to renegotiate terms with the tension
Mm,
that's in your body.
I love that. Yeah, because most people are not only are most people running around like crazy, especially women, doing all the things, being all the things. I always say to my friends that are my age, because I'm in my 50s now, that I'm so thankful I'm not a mom in this, like to young kids in this day and age, because there's so much competition for being perfect now. Like before it was there, but now it's just so much more intense. And that going back again to value, that your value and your worth depends on how perfect your kid's birthday party was when they were what,
I
like
was just
just
going to say
silly things. It's
the
like the
birthday party
Pinterest.
competition. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're not in competition with anyone. It's like we're
Yeah.
like ultimately, and what I'd love to go back to is, what I think when you were talking about like your mom and having all the kids and how she was just so powerful and just like, good, she could do it and not get sick. And I look at my mom and I think the same thing. But I think that we have inherited so much of their stress that it's like our bodies are just like, no, you can't do that and also have your own things. And so I think, when you were talking about your story, how that wasn't common for people to experience that in your culture, it was really your body saying you're on the incorrect path, right?
Mhm.
It's like you wouldn't be right here doing what you're doing had you not had that happen, right? If you would
Correct.
have not got sick, you may, maybe not, but you may have stayed where you were and not been in the place where now you can help so many other people figure out what's going on.
Yeah, but at the beginning, when you're in the throes of that, it doesn't feel like, you don't have access to the purpose yet, even though you're desperately
Hmm.
grasping at straws for, is there a purpose in this? Is there a reason for the suffering? That, I feel like that's such a human thing that we need to know that what we're going through matters, that someone
Hmm.
sees it, that it's important, and we're not forgotten. And when you're going through that really, difficult, just the not knowing is probably the biggest thing. And I get why people push for a diagnosis, but the diagnosis can be harmful in and of itself, in that now we have this
Hmm.
label, right?
Oh,
Um,
yes, I was actually going to bring that up. Keep going, but we'll talk about that. Yeah.
so getting into, I want to just address that some people might not quite be there when they're listening to this. They might be relating to some aspects, but I want to say that my story and my journey to this point, I've been 14 years into this, really just deep, immersive studying of nutrition is where I started. That's where most
Hmm.
people start, and that's wrong. It's
You're
wrong.
right.
I'm
You're
just gonna
totally right.
I'm just gonna say it. It's not the place to start. If there's anything you take from this podcast, take this. You need to heal your nervous system. And now people can say, well, how? How do I do that?
Hmm.
So, and that's fair, that's valid. And we also are living in a time where there's so much information everywhere, and everyone has every influencer and every health coach and every naturopathic doctor. And I hear stuff all the time that conflicts with things that I've
Hmm.
learned and
Hmm.
gone through. And I feel like, oh, I'm going to get on there and say something. But I'm like, the people that come to see me, they're ready for a certain type of work. And the fact that I offer lots of modalities means that I can offer what's easiest and conducive to their healing journey. They don't have to pick everything I do. That's the beauty of
Hmm.
knowing that there's other choices. And, for someone that might be coming in getting a foot zone and feeling that restorative, all a foot zone is doing, just to simplify it a little bit for those who don't know, we're pretty if we're pretty aware in Utah of foot zoners. We've had foot zoning quite a bit in our culture. If you're outside of Utah, you have no clue what that is, and it's called reflexology.
That's so
But
funny. I've never thought of that. Okay, yeah.
yeah, just lots of people that I talk to that are out of state, they're like, what is foot zone therapy? And I'm like, well, it's a whole body reset. And we work on your feet. There's over 7,000 nerve endings on your feet. The first foot zone I had, I was about, at my wit's end for feeling terrible. And someone suggested go and get a foot zone. I was like, what's a foot zone gonna do? But
Yeah.
I was open. I was starting to get into all what we label as the woo-woo world. And it was like, it can't hurt. I went and got a foot zone, and it had the very first foot zone I had a profound effect on my entire body, my nervous system, which I was not aware of back then. And I went home and slept for 3 hours in the middle of the day, and I was not sleeping. My body forgot how
Wow.
to sleep. It forgot how to rest. It forgot how to shut down. And that is where you see that 7, 8, 9 threshold start, as you said, the cup starts to overflow.
Hmm.
And now we are having symptoms that we go see a doctor about. Now we are starting to feel like things are out of control. And, for me, that was very out of control to where I questioned, am I going to be here in 5 years?
Hmm.
I didn't, I didn't know. So that put me on a path. I must learn this thing, foot zoning, even though I don't have the
Hmm.
energy to even get through a day. So I enrolled in about a year to get foot zoned, which I did my due diligence with receiving first, and I went
Mm-hmm.
to someone twice a week for months, and it was helping. And I started to have my energy coming back. I started to feel like I had better days more often than the bad days. And it was still that, be careful with my energy. I was never the same. I never felt like I had gone back to where I was before this illness had or
Mm-hmm.
this paradigm shift. I had never gone back to that. And that's a hard thing because you mourn that version of you
Yeah,
that
100%.
you're never going to be again. That was not ever my mindset, but I'm still not that young girl. I'm
Yep,
grateful.
yep.
I'm grateful.
Well, and you don't want it anymore. If you get to a place where you see from a perspective of how how out like when you're in it, when you're in all the crazy and you're doing all the things and you're burning the candle at both ends, because again of the programming of gosh, you're so amazing, how do you do all of that? I mean, that was Corey will do it, right? And you're a generator, I'm a manifesting generator in human design, meaning people know we have the energy, so they'll ask us, and in the situations we were in, we didn't know how to say no, right? Because it was
Mm-mm.
more, oh, you're going to be loved and accepted because you can do all of this. But now looking back, don't you just go, oh, I don't ever want to go back there.
No. And you look back and you're just like, what motivated me to always feel like I needed to say yes? And you have to accept that there's a state of fear and shame,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, driving that behavior that you felt that you had to say yes. Because you know what happened when I started saying no, and not because I wanted to say no, but because I literally couldn't say yes. I lost friends. I lost
Yeah.
support. I lost people that I thought were my closest friends because I could no longer say yes to
Mm-hmm.
showing up in that way for them.
And that's tough.
Yeah. It's a
It's,
very much an awakening to see, okay, this is not actual friendship and this is not
mhm,
actual love. So what is love? What is friendship? What is support? Ooh, I've never known. So you start,
like true, yeah, the true. It's what we experienced was so artificial based on our ability to do,
yeah.
right? So it was so just conditional. Oh, you can do this, then we can have be friends. Yeah, I totally get that. Even in all aspects of life, though, not even just friendships, just everything. It affects everything.
Yeah.
And you brought up the diagnosis thing, and I actually was going to touch on that, and I don't mean to throw you off. So if you need to go back to what we were talking about, but I wanted to touch on that while we're right after you brought it up, because so many people are seeking diagnosis. And I think the problem with that, you alluded to it, is there's a whole problem with being diagnosed because it creates a cognitive, oh, I have an answer. Like that's what they just want is an answer, right? But then it creates this psychological, oh, now I'm sick, right? Where if we say, okay, let's find out what the body's doing, where the what the root level cause is, what's causing me to need this diagnosis, then we don't really have to accept the diagnosis knowing that our body has the ability to heal. I very much dislike, I tell people all the time, stop chasing a diagnosis because it's going to mentally mess with you.
But I would say, with not having a diagnosis still to this point, I'm still frustrated
Mm.
about it because I still can't
Mm,
get the support that I need from doctors. I have to give a full, here's my essay of what's going on with me. If I meet someone new, or if I ever think maybe that person has a piece of this, it is very frustrating
mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
I feel like I've tried to heal the element of me that if I don't do it, no one will. This is something I've
Mm-hmm.
tried to heal. Being a very independent child, being self-driven, being that type A personality that will go in and do the thing, that's part of that toxic drive that exhausts me.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
at some point, I would love to hand over that pursuit of something, that next piece, which also there's a surrendering, right? So I just
Mm-hmm.
feel like I understand the people that are pursuing the diagnosis. I absolutely do because they want support and understanding. They want to be able to say to their family that hasn't ever understood their path, this is
Mm-hmm.
what's been happening. And then, what happens to their family? Oh, I did some research and I'm really sorry. I think that's where they think it goes.
Yeah.
But it often
Well, it's
doesn't.
validation. I mean, it's
Yeah.
validation, 100%. I mean, I've been there. I get that.
And I think
But
just
I,
we expect
go
our
ahead.
family to show up with empathy, right? We expect the
Mm-hmm.
people closest to us to maybe research what's happening with us, but they don't.
No. They're
I
not.
don't.
I still to this day, sometimes if it gets brought up in my friendships or family, I literally will say, I don't think you really understood how sick I was. Like, I don't think when and I've had friends many years ago. I had a friend that had fibromyalgia when it was not even a thing. And I remember she would come to church and she would look totally normal. And I would be like, what is fibromyalgia? She's fine. Like, that was my attitude. And so, no shame to the people in my circle that didn't understand, but they truly don't. You don't understand it until you've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when people come to you, I would guess it's because they're just like, oh my gosh, I've been to every person. Just please help me. No one knows what's wrong with me.
Pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is actually my perfect client
Hmm.
is someone
Yeah.
who is ready to break down that, there's a place for Western medicine, but when it comes to complex health issues, they're no help. They
Hmm.
just cannot. They don't look at the body outside of a systemic lens.
Yeah.
So we're faced with also these very rigid protocols. Well, let's try this medication. Let's pursue the surgery, and there's a side effect, to every single intervention that we experience through Western medicine, there's a side effect. Where with
Yeah.
holistic, treatment, where we're looking at, where you get a foot zone, what's the worst thing that can happen? You might feel sleepy. You might feel
Mhm.
irritated. You might have some emotions come up. You might have a tender spot on your foot. We're not going to signal some terrible thing in your body. The body is intelligent, so, so intelligent. And over the years, you go through this war with your body, my body's failing me, whatever it is. I'm sure that every human being that's walked the planet can relate to feeling like at some point their body did not do what they expected or wanted. And there's kind of
Mhm.
that break of trust, right? I see this a lot in my fertility clients, or even just women that I'm trying to help them work through painful periods. This is supposed to be a natural process of my body, and why is it showing up? Why is my uterus trying to kill me? I've heard that so many times.
Oh
And
my gosh.
so I think accepting that your body, whether it's the chronic headache suffer or this deep like fibromyalgic pain, this whole your body is being loud about it. It's
For
saying,
a reason.
help me, and I'm trying. And I think I've just
Mhm.
developed this deep sense of appreciation for, wow, look what you've done for me. Like I know now I've gone through, you want to talk validation, going through your genetics and seeing how many things are actually not right. And your
Mhm.
body finds these pathways to compensate and how well you've actually done to be able to
Yeah.
live, you know, a pretty normal life. A lot of people would never know. They
Yeah.
come to me as a massage therapist. They don't know that I have this health history. They don't know that I still have bad days.
Yeah.
Um, and I've just developed, I think, just a deep sense of gratitude. And I think that fosters, there's something in Ayurvedic Chinese medicine where every organ has an opinion. That's kind of how I translate the vibration of the meridians and this connection. And I feel like when we foster negative feelings towards a certain organ system, it absolutely has been proven that that lowers the vibrational quality. And, what are we talking about when we say vibration? We're just talking about before it comes to that physical space of regeneration, it takes 9 months to make a new liver. If I'm sitting there, you know, treating my liver bad, eating bad quality food, drinking alcohol, cursing everyone around me, that's going to affect my liver. It's not
Yeah.
going to be a happy liver. So
Yep. 100%.
the whole
But
body's,
the gratitude is such a big deal, especially when you're healing. So anyone that's listening or watching that is going through just some health issues and really struggling, besides the nervous system, getting that nervous system to calm down, the other thing is gratitude. Because when I started to say things to my body like, thank you for having the ability to heal, thank you for taking care of me, I believe that's a huge aspect to healing is that gratitude that you brought up.
someone young in my life, just barely when I was working with her with affirmation, she said, it feels like I'm gaslighting myself. And it cracked me up
Mm.
so much because you are. You literally are. But it's so important. That's just to me, you're not understanding. We are so much more than this 5, 6% conscious mind that's driving our patterns. We have got to address the subconscious. And this is where tapping and this is where this modality cognitive movement comes in. I want to
Yeah,
talk.
tell us about that.
Yeah, let's talk about
Tell us
that for a
about that.
minute. So we've got this fancy little soccer ball with all these colors and shapes, and this is a modality that literally landed in my lap in 2022. I was going through a very, very difficult life transition in 22, coming out of a lot of toxic paradigms, really coming into who I am, what's my purpose, and why am I here. And I knew that I wanted to take my practice somewhere else. I knew that I was having these breakthroughs with clients, foot zoning, health coaching. I'd done the certifications, I'd been on this. I've been health coaching for 10 years. And I was just like, you're not addressing the deeper subconscious levels here. Like, there's got to be something more somatic. And this was before I was in massage therapy too. So I had hurt myself doing yoga that morning and was not able to go to work. And I had to turn on the TV and sit on the couch one day. And on comes uh, Bill McKenna talking about cogno movement. And it was a Gaia thing too. And I don't remember having the
Mm,
Gaia channel. Anyway, it was interesting. And it was like,
magic.
this is it. This is literally the it. This is all the things that I've been looking for. It's the somatic piece, it's the brain piece, it's the nervous system piece. And I, within a week, was signed up under their program to become certified with this modality. And it was truly life-changing. It was everything that I was at a perfect precipice for moving forward into. It's a powerful thing. I mean, you can come in and not only work through your past trauma and your stuck patterns, which I feel like is the crux for most people in moving through, even if it's as simple as changing their diet. How many New Year's resolutions have gone bottoms up so far this year?
Yep. Yeah.
I think
Because
that's,
the pattern, I tell people all the time, if you can learn to recognize your patterns and where you just, a small change will just flip you into a whole different pattern. Because that's where it is. We just don't recognize, oh, this is a pattern for me, and where did it come from, and why do I continue to do it?
yeah,
I
but
love
that
that.
takes a certain amount of conscious awareness that a
Hmm.
lot of us just don't have access to because it's a pattern.
Yeah.
So we're kind of like sitting there in life driving our car and we've got it on auto drive and we're like, if there's a bump on the road, like, oh, that was a bump. But we don't have any
Yeah.
different tools to handle the bump. We didn't know
Yeah.
that we could swerve around the bump. We don't have to go over
Hmm.
the bump just because the
Yep.
bump's
Yep.
there. There was a whole
Exactly. So, how does the ball work then? Tell
Okay,
us how that
so
works.
so the brain likes to have something to pay attention to, and the ball works as a focal point. You can do
Mm.
cognitive movement. I teach people when they are like off my some of my social challenges where I'll put a 30-day cogno challenge out. They don't always have a ball, and I'll just tell them get a clicking pen. Um, I just so happen to have a cute ball at the end of that pen. Um, the cognitive movement is based on, people will ask me next, well, we're moving information across the corpus callosum. So we're working the hemispheres of the brain. We're working on it with a focal point. We're working on it from low to high. So we're working the range of motion or the range of vision. And we're activating the three learning centers. So our kinesthetic touch, we're touching the ball with both hands. We're moving it across the midline of the body. And auditory, there's tapping, there's clapping, we're speaking to the story if we're called to do that during the session. There's a lot of mirror type therapy that goes on. Clients will be like, come in with an issue, say, um, I just can't stand my neighbor. She's just always in my way. She's always and it comes back to something always that's within,
Hmm.
something that is irritating and triggering to them that has nothing to do with the neighbor. Nothing
Yeah.
to do with the neighbor. And so we end up neutralizing this somatic. There's always a place in the vision that connects with the body. And this is where Cogno's very different than a lot of other therapies. And this is why it's so quick and effective. Because when we can connect, oh, there's a big, strong something going on over here. My shoulder feels really stiff. Good, stay with it. Keep your eyes on the ball. What color and shape do you see? So we're using, it's a lot of work and you get tired
Hmm.
fast.
I bet.
But it's connecting the brain with the nervous system with the issue. And when you can do that, it's a game changer. When you can do that, the work you're doing is permanent.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it is similar to EMDR in the way that Pilates is similar to aerobic exercise. But the cool thing about it is in about between 4 to 6 sessions. Clients get their own ball and they take it home and they work through their own issues. Um,
Mm,
I have a really excellent training that I have on my website, and I have a lot of cogno movement mini sessions where they can go in with a theme, and some really common ones are safety in the body. That's one of the first ones that we work on. And safety in the nervous system, when you talk about people being stuck in that flight or fight, sympathetic tone is just, it's driven towards stress.
hmm
When we are driving constantly towards stress, we don't have flexibility. We've lost it. And I feel like that's why, if we're addressing diet first, we're missing such a huge piece. We're not going to be successful with restoring homeostasis to that person because we haven't addressed vagus nerve tone. We haven't addressed sleep. We haven't addressed just that simple feeling of being present and connecting with the body. Most people feel nothing from the neck down.
hmm
It's just, yeah, I have arms and legs, and how did I bruise my knee?
Yeah.
When did I get a black and blue toenail? Right? They don't
Yeah.
even know. It's just
There's
becomes
so
collateral
much lack
damage.
of awareness. Yeah, just like I think the blessing, what really comes from going through things like what you've been through and what I've been through is that you do become aware. You actually become very protective of your space and what you're allowing and what you will put yourself through because you realize how important it is for your physical and your emotional mental health to protect it. And we aren't taught that. What's crazy is that if you think about it, we're never, you're just not taught to take care of your body. Not in the same, what's interesting is even in religion, like, so I came from the LDS religion and there's the word of wisdom, and there's a lot of great wisdom to that, right? But it's so narrow of how to take care of your body. Like, there's nothing about your mind, there's nothing about nervous system, none of it. And it's so interesting to have these discussions and when I love that you bring up nervous system because again, like you said, no amount of changing your diet is going to change your body until you can calm it down enough to accept the changes.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I think that it is becoming more trendy. I'm starting to see it more in, the different channels, and, people are starting to understand and step into that the nervous system is key. And
hmm
I've been at it for years this way, and just, I feel also quite a bit of I don't know if resentment's quite the word. I've worked through it at this point, but in the beginning, when I was addressing, these severe health deficits with diet alone, there was a lot of bad information
hmm
and information that did not serve my body. And I mean, I was doing the Terry Wahls protocol with 12 cups of dark green leafy vegetables. And I am very sensitive to oxalates. Now, there's a lot of
Oh
viewers who
no.
have never heard about oxalates and don't know what they are, but let's just say they're what forms joint pain and kidney stones. Your body has no way to take care of some of these minerals that are in these dark green kale, beets, chard, spinach. These are the worst. And this was like what
Mm-hmm.
was in this diet. And what we didn't know, I guess, back then is that these plants have been domesticated and modified. They're not what we've been eating for thousands of years. They're
hmm
superfoods now, and
Yeah.
we've labeled them as superfoods. And the green smoothie movement I feel like is still happening. The AG1
Yeah.
greens are all over these podcasts, and I'm just like, I'm taking my greens actually out of my line. I have a supplement line that's all
Oh,
clean and pure,
interesting. hmm
and I've been formulating for years, and it's just that they're fine for maybe 20% of the population. 80%, they're actually going to do more harm than good.
Mm-hmm.
People don't understand that this is a lot. Your gut cell wall is one cell thick.
Mm-hmm.
So for everyone to be pushing gut health, gut health, gut health, but then you're thinking, okay, I'm eating these amazing, and I was so committed. I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have anything on these diets that was cheating. I was OCD about it. Like I was like, I want to be well more than I want that. I don't care about that. I
Yeah.
want to be well. I didn't have to have anyone overseeing me, whatever, to my fault or to my gain. I stuck through whatever that was, no matter how I felt. I
Yeah.
didn't, you know, oh, I have diarrhea. Oh, it's okay. I had a big green smoothie. Oh, I have bloating. It's okay. I know that I had the
Mm.
charred salad. I was completely out of my intuitive space for my own body and what it needed. And another aspect of that is the bone broth diet craze, super high in
Mm-hmm.
histamine, and actually put my body into ketosis, which was not something we talked about back then. I have
Mm-hmm.
very interesting genetics for ketosis. I don't use ketones well for energy. So here I am dealing with fatigue and brain fog and all these like ulcers and all these horrible things. And I'm like doing this to myself because I think it's the best information I have. So working with a practitioner isn't important for everyone. Some people can, oh, I'm going to drink more water and they feel better. They're going
Mm-hmm.
to focus on sleep, go to bed on time. They feel better.
Mm-hmm.
I want to help the people that don't feel better from doing those things. The
Yeah.
people that have been at it for years, the people that can't figure it out. I've been you. There is a
Yeah.
genetic piece, and we have resources. We have more resources to learn about our own bodies than we have ever had. If there would have been this type of genetic testing 10 years ago, you bet you I would have done it. But
Yeah.
not only was there not someone doing it, there wasn't human interpretation, that wasn't available. But unless, you're spending upwards of tens of thousands of dollars seeing a genetic
Mm-hmm.
analyst or a genetic coach, yeah, that's not in the budget and I've worked with clients who have spent upwards of $1 million already working with
Isn't
Western
that
medicine,
crazy? Ugh,
naturopathic doctors, and then to
it's
have the
so
genetic
crazy.
piece finally give them answers is just like
Mm.
this aha moment of that
Yeah.
makes so much sense. And now I have this because your genome doesn't change.
Yeah.
Have it forever.
Well, and I think that what the point that you really were driving home is that it's nothing is one size fits all. And there's two parts
Mm.
to that. Health is somewhat an experiment, right? Your genes are your genes. That's why I love what you do. I love what I do because it's a true picture of your actual body, right?
Yeah.
What's going on in your body. But everything is not a one size fits all. And we're being so bombarded with all these quick fixes and do this and do that. And we're actually causing more damage to our bodies by exactly what you said is that we're giving our bodies things that it really can't handle. And my belief is once you heal, like in my personal experience and several of my clients, I wouldn't say this is everyone, once you heal the problem, your body is designed to heal itself. So when you
Hmm.
stop abusing it, when you heal it, you can live life without being OCD, right? Because when you said that, I'm like, oh, that was me, smoothie every
Yeah.
single morning, da da
Oh,
da
yeah.
da. And but you become another type of stress. And I started recognizing that when I would be with people who were doing the same thing, how it was like this is your whole identity and your whole life. And I was like, I don't want it. I don't want to be that. So when you can say, okay, here's the problem, let's fix the problem, let's allow the body to do what it was designed to do, and then let's create a lifestyle around less stress, more community, more friendships, more support systems. The body can continue even if you make a mistake and you maybe eat something that probably isn't super healthy. The body can rectify that because it's not in survival mode, right?
Yeah, you're not at that 7, 8, 9. You're down there. You have
Mm-hmm.
some gap between that threshold max of stress. And that's where if I feel like my muscles are really, for most people, I would say this is a really good clue. How tight do you feel? How tight
Mm-hmm.
is this area, your hands, your elbows? How often do you lock your knees? This is
Mm-hmm.
90% of people that lock their knees. How many knee replacement surgeries could we avoid by
Nope.
learning how to relax that tension?
I
Just
never thought about that. I have to pay attention to that. The thing that I became aware of just the other day is how people sleep in protective mode.
yeah.
Like a lot of people, if you start paying attention to how you sleep,
Hmm.
it's interesting to watch how people sleep because some people are just free for all across the
Hmm.
bed. My entire life, I was a protective sleeper. And it
Yeah.
just clicked with me, even though I don't do it so much anymore. It comes back. Like it'll come back and I'll be like, wonder why I'm feeling that need. And usually it's old, it's just old something that was brought up. But it's interesting how the you bringing up those things with our body, like the knee locking, that's something that people just would never think about. But it's
Yeah.
going back to again, the body is always trying to say, hey, and in your case, in my case, and probably most every practitioner I've ever interviewed, the body was saying you're in the actual wrong life right now. Like the lifestyle you're
Literally.
living is not conducive to your purpose. You'll never get around to what you came here to do if you continue to be in this space, no matter where that is. It could even be location,
Yeah.
right? So it's just so interesting to me how your body has clues. And like you said, we don't have any, there's so much availability, but so many people are struggling more than ever before. And that's why I love learning about all these new possibilities that people can try. I wanted to talk about fertility because you brought that up, you brought that up earlier, but I know it's a big thing. And one of the things that we wanted to talk about was the connection between nervous system hormones and inflammation and fertility. Will you touch on that before we get done? Because I just know I have a take on fertility and why it's a problem right now, but you probably have something more in depth based on the genetic stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I still go back to the nervous system. If I'm supporting
Hmm.
a couple, I have a 3-month program where I help, this is for a conscious couple trying to conceive. Maybe they've been trying for a year. I always say, that advice is faulty. If you've been trying for a year, that's too long. There's something going on. You should be pregnant within a few months. Um, so when I work with couples, it takes 3 months to make a huge difference with sperm health and egg health. This is 3 months to really revitalize your system, work through where your energy is going, like where is your energy leaking? Because hormones and fertility is going to be the last thing that your body prioritizes. So for us to be stuck in this as a society, this state of rush and go and instant gratification and constant distraction, how many people do you meet that identify as an ADHD person?
A lot.
Most of them. And I
Yeah.
just think it's funny because it wasn't even something we knew about a while ago, yet now the full planet has stepped into this, and we're medicating our children at this ridiculous degree instead of monitoring, the excitatory fake foods that we're nourishing them with, that we're not nourishing
Hmm.
them with. And, there's obviously deficits, there's chemical toxicities we've never been exposed to, but all these things, I feel like we can counter with the science that's available.
Hmm.
And we have the ability to go to the grocery store for most of us and choose for pennies as a difference, more nourishing, I'm going to support my organic farmer versus organic food used to be a big difference in price. And now I feel like it's really equalized to a point where people can make those choices. And for the most part, stock their fridge and their pantry with smarter choices. But that's a big, food is a piece of that. The nervous system regulation piece, you have to address first because if we are
Hmm.
expecting our bodies to step in, and now I love the science coming out that men are starting to get more responsibility for, oh, you have your sperm health and quality has tons to do with the woman's risk for preeclampsia and how much
Hmm.
morning sickness she experiences.
Wow.
Yeah. And it takes healthy seed to, have a healthy baby. So both, I love bringing accountability and unifying the couple, even if it is towards an IVF preparation. Some couples that is important that they have, but so for the woman, she gets body work, Mercier therapy. I'm one of maybe 4 or 5 practitioners in the state that have studied with Jennifer Mercier. She is a fertility specialist in Illinois, and she's been at it for about 20 years. But basically, it's a deep visceral external treatment that is working on bringing blood flow to the pelvis and
Mm.
optimizing that connection between the pituitary and that hormone signaling through the HPA axis. So we are addressing physical blockages with the woman as well as addressing, that nervous system piece with their partner, making sure their communication is in sync because it's a very stressful thing for couples
Hmm.
to experience infertility. It can really be the demise of their relationship because it puts such a stress on, again, where am I failure? Where am I not showing up? Where am I not complete? So
Hmm.
they lose that sense of safety within their own nervous systems. So I love that work. I love that work. It is not the only
Awesome.
work that I do. Certainly, have been, I have been told by a couple business managers, you need to niche down, Helen. You need to just help with this demographic.
Mm-mm.
And
Mm-mm.
And I just don't feel that. I feel that I get nourished and fed by the complexity of problems that show up for me. And I am, as you saw, a responder. So I tend to, in my human design chart, that's one of my
Mm-hmm.
traits. I'm a responder. So that's what drives the learning that I do, the programs I create. I'm a generator and a responder. So I'm good at creating courses and solutions to people's
Mm-hmm.
problems and not necessarily in a tiny little demographic. So,
Well, and the your four in your profile is actually a big part of that too. Creating community safe spaces, bringing people together, and creating safe relationships. And the more you know, the more you can help those people that are going to trust you. You're a planner. I'm going to make sure I know that I'm in a safe space, which actually translates to your clients.
yeah,
But the niche down thing drives me bonkers because really in what we do, you can't. You
yeah,
have to address multiple, and you can do it in different ways, but you have to address health from multiple different genres, right? You can't just be like, oh, I'm just this. One of the reasons I do what I do with the women wellness and woo woo, though, and why I look for people that have different modalities like you is because sometimes there's some really cool ones that I don't want to go learn it all, even if I felt like I had the time and the brain to do it. It's just not possible. So for to be able to say, like, even when you were talking about your genetic stuff, I'm like, oh, so many people, I can't remember, it'll come back to me, but something you said, I was like, oh, that's so cool because I can send them to her when this comes up and she can go deeper into it than I would be able to go. And so I love that. You can't niche down. You because and also
yeah,
we're constantly learning, right? In order to help our clients, we have to be in the forefront of what's new and really it's a benefit to them for us to be outside of what they're seeing like in social media. There's so much information on social media. That's a nervous system problem alone,
yeah.
right?
It absolutely is.
Like,
Yeah,
where do I
there's,
go? What do I do? Who's right? How much money do I have to spend to do this? Like, it's just that takes me back to just the intuitive and your soul knows what you need. And so, for instance, if you're watching this today or listening, and Helen said something that you just lit you up, that's a sign for you that she has a tool you need, and your body is telling you that. But we
yeah.
got to not be numbed out to it.
Yeah, and there's something about being aligned too to say yes. Like I was ready for this cogno movement when it showed up for me. Like I was ready. Like I could have been ready yesterday for it. And there's that alignment. And everyone, like, I wouldn't have been ready for that 3 years ago or even a year ago
Mhm.
or maybe a month before. So
Yeah.
respecting that you have the energy, I have something in my coaching that I feel like is super important that's kind of come up as my 3 A's. And one is that the system, whatever it is approachable. You need to feel like this is an approachable program, protocol. I can see myself getting into this. I don't feel
Mhm.
overwhelmed just by thinking about doing this. This could be helpful. And then the next one is accountable. You really do need to have an accountable advocate that has your back. You know,
Mhm.
I'm going to be here. I'm going to help you. I'm going to kind of hold your hand for a while because this stuff is new. This stuff could be still
Mhm.
overwhelming and it needs to be affordable. It cannot
Yeah.
be so overwhelming that it kicks us out of the first two. We need to
Mhm.
feel like this is an affordable avenue for us to invest in. It needs to be an investment because we're asking for a big change. We're asking for
Mhm.
really an investment. Maybe, for a lot of my clients, they've worked with other doctors before and they haven't had a good outcome. They haven't felt seen or heard. They've worked with naturopaths before and it hasn't addressed the nervous system piece, and they've been given 50 different new supplements, which they didn't have a good reaction to. That isn't the way that I work.
Mhm.
Um, I always am trying to work through whatever program they are interested in moving forward or what resonates most with someone where they can use it on their own. I feel like
Mhm.
that's vital because there's a place for me supporting and teaching, and they're learning something new. And then there's a place, look what you can do by yourself. Look how you
Mhm.
have this tool now to sustain you and help you move through these problems.
Yeah. I love that. And I think I love that you brought up the exchange. I believe money is an energetic exchange and it has to be fair, right? But also you have the when people come to us, they have to be ready. And I love how you're all about easing into things. It's not a I think we were both on the same page that way, where it's just like we don't want to overwhelm you and push you into something you're not ready for because that's not going to help you. And I've been in those situations. I worked in a situation where it was this giant plan with these millions of supplements, and people were just like, oh, I don't even know how to keep track of the supplements, let alone all the rest of the stuff I have to do. And I just think it's important going back to the nervous system to really focus on what is the thing that's rising to the top right now, right? So
Yeah.
much of that has nothing to do with what you're eating. Yeah, it's going to improve if you can change some of the eating habits, but it's so many people, we live in so much fear right now. I asked a practitioner I interviewed the other day that's a therapist, and I said, what's the number one thing you feel you're getting from clients they're experiencing the most right now? And she said, grief.
Mm.
And, if we take that back to a human design aspect, we're all picking up each other's energies, and we've got to just realize, okay, what is it that I'm actually feeling? And I love that you're about that. You're about the cognitive, you're about the nervous system, you're about getting into that. And I don't think I'm trying to figure out how to say this so I don't offend people, but I don't think someone who hasn't been through it is going to be as helpful as someone who has. Does that make sense? So there's a lot of people out there that are a genius at what they do and very, very gifted at what they do, but sometimes they haven't really been through it. They've just learned it. And I just think with you, you have so much wisdom in what you've been through and what you've learned that people can identify with. And I think that's amazing.
And honestly, I feel like if there is a outcome of where I can say I look back and I'm super grateful for this body and what it's taught me, they've been really hard lessons to learn. And I
Hmm.
feel like I get to wear that because not just to say I survived it, but I experienced it in a way that I embodied it. And I get to own that. And I get to continue to learn and study. And honestly, I just am so grateful for the people that do meet me. And so often I hear, even in the body work, I feel like I had like 5 times in a week, and it just cracks me up because the different clients coming from different families, different setups, different personalities. I feel like I
Hmm.
just had an out of body experience. And I was like, that's just funny to me. I like that. I,
Uh,
I want to bring up a client that I worked with a couple years ago, and she won't mind me telling her story because she was on one of my trainings. Her name is Natalie, and she came to me from a referral with her daughter that I had worked with them through fertility. And she came to me very, very sick. She came unable to even take a deep breath without wheezing or coughing. And this had been her life for over a decade. And she had been on 2 rounds of the immune immunity shots, right? The allergy immunity shots that doctors will give you where they take your blood and they're like, oh, these are the antibodies you're making. Here these allergy shots are. And they're a 5-year protocol each. So she did 2 rounds of those. So 10 years of these shots with
wow.
no improvement with her allergies, her severe asthma. She had a bronchial infection that would get deep, deep into her lungs from the onset of winter, and so
Mm.
cold weather aggravated everything as it does for so many health issues. But I just felt so much empathy for this poor woman. I was like, what can I do for her? This is one of those moments you really take a step back and you have all these tools, you can use herbs, you can use all these things, but for her, she was so backed up and her detox pathways were so congested. You know, um, we just had to start opening things up. So we started with lymphatic body work. And she had had multiple drainage where they come in and clean out the
Mm.
sinuses because she had, this tendency to create infections. So she was very sick for a very long time. And we started with the biofeedback, so using the AO scan frequencies for her. And this is subtle. This is really subtle. There's something called a Herxheimer's response. No, you know about it, but for the audience, they don't know. I believe it was named after Dr. Herxheimer, who identified it, but it's basically when the body gets overwhelmed with symptoms. You're cleaning up too fast. A lot of you have probably experienced where you've overdone the healthy thing. You drank too much water, or you You did something to put yourself into taking too much iodine. A lot of people have Herxheimer's from that. I'm
Mm,
very sensitive to iodine because when you take enough of something, your body kicks out the junk into the bloodstream, and this can happen from getting deep body work, deep tissue. This can happen from just sweating too much in a sauna. There's a lot of reasons that this can trigger. I am not a fan of the Herxheimers. I'm not one of those practitioners that are going to say, oh, you're going to feel worse before you feel better, because I am that sensitive person. That if I
mm,
was to be pushed into a protocol that forced me down a Herxheimer for even a couple days, it could put me in a month flare. So I
mm,
am not an advocate for challenging the body's threshold without opening up those detox pathways and really being
hmm.
supportive of who it is that I'm working with. And we don't always know how sensitive they are, right? So that
No, and
can
so
be,
many people are just detoxing off of Instagram. Right, here, buy this detox.
oh my goodness,
That's a really,
it's
yeah.
such a
And
trigger
if your
word for me.
pathways, yeah, if your
I feel
pathways
so
are not
triggered by the
open,
detox word.
yeah.
People ask me nonstop, how do you feel about this parasite cleanse and this detox protocol? I'm like,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
don't do those. And I'll tell you what I do do, but I don't do those. And I tell
Mm.
them why. And they're like, they go and do it anyway, for the most part.
That's
And these are
funny.
not your chronically ill people, so they don't have a really severe outcome, right? But
Hmm.
that's okay. They can. That I always am I'm gonna advocate for you to do what feels right for you. I am not forceful. I'm just gonna tell you my educated opinion and what I've been through with
Yeah.
my own body and my own clinical experience for over 10 years. But that's just my take on it. You're welcome to do at the end of the day what feels right for you. So Miss Natalie started using AL Scan, and I taught her how to run these frequencies for herself using her own phone at home. And she started to do the homeopathic imprints. AL Scan has this marvelous hundreds of homeopathic frequencies. And anyone who studied homeopathy, it is literally frequency medicine. There are no constituents of the herbal extracts or plant constituents left. So it's considered completely woo-woo medicine, doesn't do anything,
Hmm.
right? But at a frequency level, it does a whole lot.
Does.
It can
Hmm.
re-educate, these overreactive, especially around allergies. Before I met with Natalie, I feel like I always come to that place of learning before I meet the client that I help, and it's usually with my body.
Hmm.
I had a very similar experience with AO scan because I'm going to use the word cure here. I know that's prohibited, but I literally don't have seasonal allergies anymore after 20 years. And allergies were a huge problem for someone with chronic illness because I don't clear histamine well. So histamine could flare every type of mast cell activation, POTS symptoms, dysautonomia, nervous system dysregulation. Histamine's not it.
Hmm.
You don't want to mess with histamine. So seasonal allergies were always a crux for me to head into usually my longest flares, which
Hmm.
were nasty. So all I did was AL scan imprints for their allergy setup and did them in these little pellets and sometimes just in water. And it took a couple days to completely clear severe itchy throat, watery eyes, the fatigue that you feel.
Hmm.
And so I knew that it worked. So I was like, Natalie, I feel really strongly that I think that you're a really good candidate for us opening up your lymph. So we did a lot of lymphatic massage. She came, I would say every 2 weeks for the first couple months. And we were doing lymphatic drainage, manual lymphatic drainage, getting her sinuses to drain. The body has to have a way to get rid of it, a good
Yeah.
way. You can't just start doing anything without the body having a way to excrete the toxins that had been accumulating in her for years.
Hmm.
And I mean, I say 10 years, but I believe when she came on, she talked about it being a good 20 years that she had felt this way.
Ugh.
No relief. And she wasn't able to take a walk outside, open a window in her house, have a family pet. Like, this was a very debilitating and life-changing thing for her to
Yeah.
heal. So, about 4 months later, she came on talking about this amazing transformation. She had a dog on her lap, and I just was trying to fight back tears, seeing how she had transformed. She said things on this talk that I had never heard her say to me in the time we had worked together, like how she, couldn't have her husband put his arm around her to give her a hug because it would bring about a coughing spell for her. And that's how
Wow.
restricted she was. So she was talking about, her diligence in running these frequencies and working with me. I did not put her on a bunch of supplements. We did not even really address diet. We took care.
Mm,
She did cogno movement, she did lymphatic drainage, and we worked on the way that her body stored and handled stress.
mm.
That's it. And
Isn't that so amazing? And when I believe you can cure. I mean, you can cure. I have multiple things of my own that I've cured. It's there. I hate that we can't say that, but
we can. We're on the Woo Woo podcast. We can
I
say
know
whatever
we're
we
gonna
want on
say
here.
whatever we want. I know exactly. And so I love that because it gives people hope because that actually made me a little bit emotional because I had that chronic cough, not for, I don't know that I could have mentally survived having that for that long
Yeah.
because to literally not be able to talk without coughing, you don't want to be around anybody. It's
No.
like nobody wants, and when I had it, it was during COVID. So if
Yeah.
you cough, oh, you're gonna people will die
You're a
if you cough
disease.
around them, right? Yeah, you're gross, and so it's just it's. I love. I'm glad you told that story because I usually do say, "Well, tell us about something you've helped somebody with." So I love that you just intuitively brought that up because there is hope. There's so much hope, and
And we have
and
access. This is stuff we have access to. People are going to hear this and they're going to be like, frequencies did what? And I'm
well,
like, oh,
frequency is going to be the thing. My belief is
no.
that frequency in a couple years, you're not going to probably even need. I look at kids coming in now, and I've talked about this before on the podcast. Little kids do not want to eat, and it's so puzzling to me because a lot of them they've been just their palates have been trained by eating food that has chemicals in it that make them only want that food. But a lot of them literally just don't want to eat, and I'm like, what's going to happen? Are we just? And I think because of the chemicals in our environment, our food is just even good food. It's really hard to find truly organic good food because there's so much crud in the environment. And so there's a part of me that's like frequency is going to be everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It'll be
I
interesting to
mean,
see.
yeah, I've used it for 4 years and I will not be without the frequencies. It is my little superpower for my doggies when they're throwing up mysterious things, or when even I did take iodine the other day and I had a meeting, a Zoom meeting like this, and
Oh no.
I took iodine and I know that I'm supposed to take it because the scanner tells you what supplements, but you have to do salt loading with iodine to avoid the
Mm.
Herxheimer. So I got the nausea while I'm sitting here with a Zoom call and I ran the
Oh
frequency
no.
for nausea and was better in like 10 minutes.
So cool.
So it is a very cool thing to have access in your home, and we deserve that. I feel like everything that, we've given our power away. When people say there's a place for Western medicine, I personally have felt very disempowered when I've put my health in the hands exclusively to say, figure me out. I want you to tell me what's wrong. I'm
Hmm.
grateful that it's there. We certainly need it, but it is not the all-inclusive problem solving, get me better. It is just not intended to be a health care system. It's a sick care
No.
system.
Hmm.
So I believe that these tools are here in really incredible ways for us to access and advocate for ourselves. But
Yeah.
Natalie, just to bring up one more thing, if you think about, like you said, you don't know if you'd be mentally resilient enough to handle that for, I know I wouldn't because breathing has been a big struggle for me. When I do have flares, I've had to be on assisted breathing oxygen machines.
Mm.
And you just don't make enough ATP. You don't create that exchange well when you're that weak. And
Hmm.
to go through that for that long of a period of time, it also is like 80+% of our excretion of metabolic waste. So think
Hmm.
of that alone not working well. Breathing is one of your best detox pathways. Now, everyone
Yep.
listening will take a deep breath. On your
Hmm.
exhale that all the way out. That is the superpower of your breath. It is not so much the inhalation, it's the exhalation. So
Yep.
everyone exhale all the way.
Yeah, breathe, actually breathe. I have to be very conscious. I'm a very shallow breather and it makes a difference for sure. So I'm sure that was just life changing for her. And I love these conversations because this is my belief is that if someone's listening to this and they're like, oh, can someone truly help me? First and foremost, your intuition will lead you to the right people.
Yeah.
You will know when someone can help you, and you will come to a place where, like, I came to a place where my trust in Western medicine, I just really had that wake up of you have to be your own health advocate. No one else is here to save you. No one's going to help you. No one knows how to help you, right? So it then came down to I've got to learn to trust myself to know. And then I became desperate to try anything and everything, which is what led me to where I'm at right now. And so some of these modalities, if you're listening, might be new or different, or you might think that they're odd or unbelievable. But I'm going to encourage you to tap into your intuition if you just have to go sit with yourself for a minute and kind of process some of these things that we've talked about because your body will know what you need. And I encourage people to have a board of practitioners. When I was sick, I still to this day have this, but they're different people. When I was sick, I had a board of about 5 ladies, and they each one of them helped me in a different way. And so what I love with what this platform creates is helping me create is those boards for people because I don't believe health is a one size fits all. I don't believe that one person is going to have the solution to all of your problems. I believe that if you understand that intuitively creating your board, learning about these different modalities and going, that feels right to me, you'll start to recover very quickly. Like it's amazing how fast the body can recover. It won't happen overnight. It's not a magic pill. But I literally, the first time I went, so really quick, the first time I went to somebody that was outside of Western medicine, I was so depressed, and she did a type of bio scanning, and she said, you're really depressed. And I'm like, yeah. And she gave me a homeopathic, and I'm not kidding you, within 5 hours, I was a different person. And
Yeah.
so there are things that can happen very quickly. Doesn't mean your whole body's healed, but those little tools bring you hope that, okay, today I can get out of bed, right? Okay, today I don't feel so down in the dumps like there's no hope. And so lastly, so what do you think just from your own experience with your own health and clients, if somebody's listening and they're like, I don't really know where to begin, even from an intuitive standpoint, what would you say? What would you offer as the best advice?
That's a
Like,
really
where
good question.
it's kind
And
of
I
a
don't
loaded
want to,
question.
it is
Yeah.
because I do believe in what you said prior to this, that you will be kind of guided and your intuition will come across the feed or the information, the quote, the book, something will come up. You
Mhm.
are like our nervous systems are always having a conversation. Yours is with mine. We are with this audience. We are with the world. We are all connected. And what you're putting out, even if it's to say, I really need help, please help me. If this is as far as that goes, the universe hears you. You're getting something back. Now, if you're putting out, this is the way I am, I'm always going to be this way, I'm sick. That's where you are and you won't find the help. So you have to kind of address, do I want to heal? Because I've had a couple clients in the last few years show up, get a package from me, do one thing and leave and never talk to me again.
Yeah,
So it's
they're
really
not ready.
important. They're not ready. And I
Yeah.
just hold space for them until they do decide
Hmm.
this is the way that I want to heal. But because it was challenging, it challenges you very, very fast when you do find that there
Hmm.
are methods that address that subconscious layer as well. You have to address the patterns.
Hmm.
And part of that pattern of, am I worthy to heal? Do I want to heal?
Yeah.
Journaling is a really good way to me. It's free, it's accessible.
Hmm.
Handwrite this out. What do you want? What are you worthy of? And this is where we start to negotiate with our patterns, with that internal reasoning, with that internal dialogue. How do I talk to myself? Those
Love
are some
that.
simple, I feel like really accessible things. Find a breathwork class on YouTube. Start coming into
Hmm.
your body. You don't need to, a lot of people will say, I can't afford you. I can't afford to work with you.
Hmm.
That's fair. There's free ways of working with me. I have social media platforms that I talk about this stuff all day long. I have workshops that are extremely affordable for someone who can't work one-to-one with me with cognitive movement. I have trainings that are successful, that people have good outcomes. Um, and I just kind of, my passion is to guide you to what can help you the most. And I recognize and appreciate where you are financially as well.
Yeah.
So healing is possible. That would be my last thing. Your body wants to heal and it is trying to heal you. So living in gratitude, one more thought to pull some Joe Dispenza in here. We have to pull him in here once before we
Mm-hmm.
close this up. The research he's done on what gratitude does, even with not only with the nervous system, but with our gut biome. I am shifting and have been shifting for years around what was a very popular tagline, heal your gut, heal whatever's wrong with you. I am shifting from heal your nervous system
Hmm.
because there is a correlation here that influences the type of microbiota that you create in less than an hour. And gratitude is like this. If you want to feel safe in your body, you have to feel a measure of safety to attach to gratitude.
Yeah, you do. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So where can we find you? So on Instagram, where do we find you? And then you have a website, like if people want to contact you and work
Yeah,
with
my
you?
website has a lot of the best information where you can spend a long time looking over all the different modalities. I've got a lot of good stuff on there. I am on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, all the things. But Whole Body and Soul, spelled like SOLE,
Love
on
it.
purpose for the feet.
That's fit zoning.
I will always respect foot zone therapy and that wellness really does start at that core, that base. And the feet are just this humble access point for the body. So wholebodyandsoul.com, that's where you can find me. And I have lots of links on there for setting up a free discovery call. I'd love to talk to you about, what your health goals are. We have 15 minutes to talk that through and get to know if, something I have to offer can help you on your health journey. That is my passion. So,
Hmm. I love it. Okay, so we'll put all that in the show notes. And thank you so much. I enjoyed this so much. Like I could talk about all of this all day. We could probably have a never-ending podcast. That would be my dream. But to have new people filter in every couple hours, that would be literally when people say, "Well, if you could do anything that you wanted, what would you do?" And I'm like, "Just talk about this stuff, right?" And
yeah.
maybe someday that's all I will do, but right now I'm having fun doing it when I can. So I appreciate your time so much, Helen. It's been really, really fun. And I'm so thankful. Helen was actually referred to me, disconnected to me, through another practitioner who I absolutely adore, who's going to be on in a couple weeks after Helen's comes out. But I'm just grateful for that. And I just feel like the same way we talked about when you're ready to heal, it's like when the student's ready, the teacher appears, right? So when you're truly, truly ready to trust your intuition and go find who's there to help you, those people will come into your life. And I get that with what I do with practitioners is there's never not somebody that I don't have to interview because I get referred to amazing, like literally some of the most amazing practitioners that are right here in Utah. So let me just close with that. If you are not in Utah, most of us, and I know Helen does virtual work, so you don't have to be in person with her for a lot of what she does. So please don't let that stop you. Go check out her website, see what she does, and then do that consultation. You know what? It's interesting to me how many people, I think there's a fear out there of, ooh, if I may have this conversation, then I'm committed. I think people like Helen and I are not going to force you into something that you don't want. Maybe we'll just open some pathways in your brain to help you maybe go, okay, let me sit with that. There's no commitment to having a consultation, and sometimes it can be really life changing. So,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
thank you, Corey. I appreciate your time. It was fun to be on here. I agree. I
that
could
was
talk about this
super
stuff
fun.
all day long, but
So fun. Well, we'll have you back because I know there's more of your story and your things I would love to dive into at a later time. And yeah, I'll have you back sometime for sure.
okay. Well,
Okay,
thank you
have
so
a
much.
beautiful day, everybody. Thanks so much. Bye bye.